Most men believe that they need to be the funniest, the best-looking, or the most talkative guy in the room to capture a woman's attention. And this belief, my friend, is sabotaging you. Because while you're spending energy trying to impress, there's another guy, seemingly ordinary, who wins her over effortlessly. And do you know his secret? He knows how to talk. It's that simple. He understands that seduction begins in the mind, and that the right words, said at the right time, create a connection that goes far beyond appearance. You know what's funny? The men who stand out the most don't memorize ready-made phrases or follow rigid scripts. They know how to turn a hi into an unforgettable conversation. They know how to bring up topics that spark emotion, curiosity, and desire. They conduct the conversation like someone dancing, feeling the rhythm, reading the signs, provoking sensations, and all of this without seeming forced, because it's not. It's natural, it's instinctive, it's powerful. But let's be honest, most people have never learned how to do this. School doesn't teach them, parents don't tell them, and the internet provides superficial formulas that hinder more than they help. That's why in this video, you'll learn clearly and strategically the right topics to talk about with a woman and keep the conversation flowing in a light, fun, and engaging way. And more than that, you'll understand what makes a man memorable even after the conversation is over. You'll discover that having a good conversation isn't about knowing how to talk a lot, but rather about knowing how to touch on the right points, because a woman may forget your name, but she'll never forget how you made her feel. And if you want to become that kind of man, the one who gets into her mind with ease and depth, stay with me until the end. Because what comes next is what most people have never told you, and maybe don't even know how to explain. There is no magic formula for seduction, but one thing is certain: men of value don't wait for luck to knock on the door. They go after opportunities. While most people limit themselves to the obvious, repeating the same worn-out approaches, the alpha man sees the details that no one else sees and acts with emotional intelligence. It's like being at a party and, instead of competing for attention with everyone, he observes, chooses his moment well and stands out precisely because he's not part of the crowd. This is not about showing off, but about showing personality. In this context, seeking opportunities means being sensitive enough to perceive what really attracts a woman beyond her appearance. He is the kind of guy who, instead of just talking about himself, observes her expressions, notices when she is genuinely smiling or when she is just being polite. He understands that every relationship begins with listening, not talking. This type of perception requires personal development. After all, those who are not attentive to others are distracted by their own ego. And there's more. Being different doesn't mean trying to shock or act eccentric. It's having the courage to be authentic when everyone else is trying to copy formulas. For example, while others are chatting with, "Hey, how are you?" he might look at a book in her hand and say, "Did you know that this author changed the way I see the world?" Simple, direct, natural. This already shows that he has content, that he has interests, and that he is someone worth listening to. That is true seduction. But it's not enough to just stand out. You need to create a real connection, and to do that, knowing her interests is crucial. An intelligent man understands that a quality conversation starts when he subtly investigates. Don't ask questions like a questionnaire. The secret is to listen carefully and bring up topics that intertwine with what she's already revealed. If she says she loves to travel, for example, instead of answering cool, he can ask, "Which place left the biggest impression on you? What made you fall in love with it?" This creates a bond. The big turning point happens when the man stops trying to impress her and starts to show genuine interest. When he delves into her world with genuine curiosity, the game changes. She realizes the difference between someone who just wants attention and someone who wants connection. And that's when the construction of an engaging conversation begins, the kind that makes her remember the man even after he leaves. Now, if you think keeping this conversation flowing is complicated, just wait for what comes next. Nothing is more alienating than that robotic question and answer style conversation where it seems like the woman is in a selection process and the man is the recruiter. This is not seduction, it's interrogation. The secret is to turn the conversation into something light, like a game of ping pong. She talks, you respond with curiosity, make a hook, add something personal, and so on, creating a natural rhythm. It's as if the conversation is dancing, and dancing well requires harmony. A practical tip: replace "what do you do for a living" with "what do you like most about what you do." This gives her space to tell stories, not just give answers. If she says she's a teacher, for example, instead of just saying "that's cool," go into more detail. It must be amazing to see the sparkle in the eyes of someone who learns something from you, right? This is the difference between an ordinary man and a man of value. The latter knows how to make her feel special with just the right words. And when she realizes that you are genuinely interested in what she has to say, everything changes. It's not about agreeing with everything or flattering her. It's about paying attention to the details. Sometimes she'll mention a difficult test, a trip she's planning, or a different hobby. These are valuable hooks that an attentive man uses to keep the conversation going. Don't force anything, just observe and follow along naturally. This genuine attention also shows up when you share things about yourself in response to what she says. This creates mirroring, which is one of the most effective techniques in communication. If she says she does yoga to relax, you can say, "Wow, I've never tried it, but I've been told it really helps with focus." Do you really feel that difference in your day-to-day life? You show interest, give a little of yourself, and even invite the conversation to continue. Deep down, every woman wants to be heard, not just with her ears, but with her heart. When you learn to transform a simple "where do you study" into an exchange of stories, laughter, and discoveries, you will distance yourself miles from the average. And speaking of distancing yourself from the average, there is a mistake that many make at the beginning, and that can end any chance before she even starts to show interest. In the beginning, any excess works against you. A classic mistake many men make is wanting too much too soon. Sending messages in sequence, giving excessive compliments, showing anxiety as if you were the last woman on the planet. This conveys neediness, and neediness is the opposite of mature masculinity. A man of value doesn't chase, he attracts. He doesn't beg for attention, he wins you over with presence, with calm, with mystery. True seduction is subtle. It reveals itself in small gestures, in the way you look, the way you listen, the way you talk about yourself without seeming like you're selling yourself. It's that man who knows he doesn't need to explain himself too much, who understands that silence is also seductive. He doesn't pressure her for quick answers. He doesn't show urgency. He values her time, but makes it clear, with posture and attitude, that his is valuable too. This is masculinity in its raw state. But to seduce well, it's not enough to be calm. You need to be attentive. Observing a woman's behavior gives you a strategic advantage. Does she have a more classic attitude? She might like more traditional things. Is she more lively, more modern? Maybe she's into technology, trends, and current affairs. This doesn't mean changing who you are, but rather adjusting the conversation. For example, if she posts about art exhibitions, it's a great sign to bring up a subject like design, culture, or even travel with an artistic touch. The alpha man studies without looking like he's studying. He notices her tone of voice when she talks about something with a sparkle in her eyes. That's gold. If she mentions that she loves fashion, he doesn't pretend to know everything, but he might say, I've always found it fascinating how the way someone dresses speaks volumes about a person before they say anything. This not only shows sensitivity, but also gives her space to express herself. And women love to talk about what they love to those who know how to listen. Adapting the conversation to her profile is not manipulation, it is emotional intelligence. It is like adjusting the tone of the music to accompany the dance. And the more you learn to play this symphony, the more natural it becomes. But what few people know is that certain topics work as true wildcards in a conversation. And if you know how to use this to your advantage, the connection happens almost effortlessly. There's something magical about talking about music. It's almost like opening a window into someone's soul. It doesn't matter if they like MPB, trap, or jazz. The important thing is authenticity. Many men make the mistake of trying to please someone, saying they like the same band as her just to seem more compatible. That doesn't work. She notices it and loses interest. The real game of seduction is knowing how to express your opinion without disrespecting hers. That's what creates contrast and tension, two fundamental ingredients for any seductive relationship. Want a practical example? If she loves pagode and you can't stand it, you don't have to pretend. Say, "Man, I can't get into it, but I think it's cool to see how this style moves so many people. What else gets you into this vibe?" With this answer, you keep the conversation alive, show personality, and even invite her to talk more about something she likes. This kind of light and relaxed exchange creates much stronger bonds than just trying to impress. Another fertile ground is movies and series. Everyone has that one book that left a mark on them, that character they identified with, that ending that divided opinions. Talking about this is an opportunity for debate, laughter, and even discoveries. If she likes suspense, a conversation about Dark or Mindhunter might come up. If she's a fan of romantic drama, maybe she loves Pride and Prejudice or The Notebook. Use this to delve into her world and show her a little bit of yours too. And of course, never underestimate the power of talking about food. It's one of the simplest and most effective topics to talk about. Asking, "What's your favorite dish?" can spark an entire conversation about gastronomic experiences. It's even better if you follow it up with, "Is there a place you love to go that you think no one knows about?" This type of question activates the emotional memory, and that's when the emotional connection begins to grow. Men who know how to explore these topics in a light-hearted way have mastered the art of conversation. The truth is that when you mix music, movies, and food, you have already laid the foundation for something more intimate. And then you have the perfect chance to evolve into deeper themes without seeming forced. Because after touching the heart, the next step is to touch dreams. And that is exactly what we are going to talk about now. Few things bring as much sparkle to a woman's eyes as talking about the future. Asking about her dreams and plans isn't just polite curiosity, it's a subtle way of accessing her inner world. A man of value knows that when she talks about what she wants to build, she reveals more than just desires. She reveals beliefs, traumas, hopes, and a worldview. And that's gold for anyone who wants a real relationship. A good question. If you could be anywhere in the world right now, doing anything, where would it be? This type of question gives her space to express herself without any filter. And most importantly, it shows that you're not just there for the moment, but that you're interested in who she wants to become. If she says she dreams of opening a business or visiting Japan, this is the perfect moment to start a conversation about culture, discipline, creativity, and freedom. The conversation changes to a new level. You're no longer just another interested party. You're now someone who wants to grow with her. This is seduction with purpose. Traveling is also a topic that stirs the imagination. You can ask her about the most incredible place she has ever been, or the one that is still at the top of her list. You can even share something remarkable that you experienced. like that unexpected boat trip in Florianopolis, or the feeling of seeing snow for the first time. This type of story humanizes, brings people closer, and shows that you have a repertoire. A man who lives, feels, and shares is much more interesting than one who just observes. Now be careful. When we talk about memorable experiences, there is a fine line that separates the interesting from the heavy. Avoid talking about ex-girlfriends, breakups, or heartbreaks. This ruins the mood and triggers that no one wants to relive. The ideal is to talk about stories that left positive lessons, even if they were challenging. A conversation about how traveling alone taught you how to deal with silence, for example, can be very powerful. When you connect dreams with memories, present with future, you create a kind of dialogue that goes far beyond flirting. And it is precisely at this point that she begins to imagine you present in the next pages of her story. And to make this come true, you need to understand how to fit your routine into hers. And that is what the next part will show you. Routine reveals much more than it seems. Finding out how she organizes her day is one of the smartest ways to get to know the essence behind her appearance. An alpha man doesn't ask, "What do you do for a living?" just to be polite. He listens attentively, trying to understand her rhythm, habits, and even the little pleasures she cultivates throughout the week. This isn't snooping, it's creating space for connection. It's the difference between talking with intention and talking just for the sake of it. Knowing whether she trains early, works from home, takes dance classes, or loves to have coffee alone in the late afternoon gives you the ammunition to propose dates more naturally. For example, if she says she loves walking in the park on Saturdays, you can say, "Maybe next Saturday we can meet there for a different walk." Simple, subtle, and with perfect timing. A man of value knows where to fit in, and does so without seeming intrusive. Another essential point, show your plans too. Relationships, and even those that haven't even started yet, grow when there's an exchange. When you share that you're studying something new, that you plan to travel, that you want to change careers, or that you're thinking about challenging yourself in some way, she feels like she's in front of someone who's on the move. And no woman falls in love with a man who's still. The interesting thing here is that when you talk about routine and plans, you start to create, without realizing it, a scenario where each other's presence can make sense. This goes beyond flirting. It's building intimacy. What was once a casual conversation becomes a purposeful dialogue. This is how the feeling of "we fit together" is born, even without having spoken about it directly. The routine becomes a shared territory. And this is where many men go wrong. They ignore the power of knowing what she goes through every day, thinking that seduction is just about a strong presence and well-placed phrases is an illusion. The real charm is in showing that you see what's behind it, and that you know how to be part of it in a light-hearted way. Now that you understand how to keep this conversation alive and growing, maybe you're ready to discover how to apply all of this effortlessly, and this is where the magic begins. Now tell me, how many conversations have you lost because you didn't know what to say, or worse, because you said too much and in the wrong way? The truth is that seduction isn't a game of ready-made phrases. It's a subtle dance between presence, listening, and intention. And if you've come this far, it's because you're ready to play on another level. But understanding all this without applying it is like buying a luxury car and leaving it in the garage. So the question is, what are you going to do with this knowledge? Are you going to continue to engage in shallow conversations that lead nowhere? Or are you going to use each tip as a tool to become a more interesting, more engaging, more confident man? Start simple. Choose a topic we've seen here and bring it to your next conversation. Observe the impact, feel the difference, and then tell me in the comments what action you're going to take from now on to become a man of value. Because the world doesn't need another guy trying to seem interesting. It needs men who actually are. And that starts with the way you talk, with the intention behind your words, with respect for the person on the other end. Now tell me, which of these strategies are you going to put into practice first? I want to see your answer below. Prove to me that you're not just another guy who watches and forgets. If this content made sense to you, if it opened your eyes to something new, then subscribe to the channel right now and turn on notifications. There's a lot more to come. And each new video is another step in your journey of growth, seduction, personal development, and self-love. Let's go together on this journey towards the best version of yourself.